some ASMR.
Hey, I'm Zainab,
And I'm Mia.
and welcome to another episode of Sprinkles and Spice.
And is it self-love or are you just being lazy in a silk robe, babes?
Rotting on the couch,
Scrolling through TikTok.
doom scrolling through TikTok.
We're talking to me now.
Speaking of TikTok, I think we are now torn more than ever on the TikToks. Speaking like a true millennial, about the whole Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively situation. Can we just
That's
get
my
an update
marathon.
on this like real quick?
Okay, so we've all seen the footage of them dancing together.
It's a 17-minute clip.
Okay, I didn't watch 17 minutes.
It's
I watched
17 minutes.
Like I think 3-4 minutes of it.
Yeah.
What I found on the TikTok.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are still, staying strong on Justin's side. And some people have been kind of like swayed a bit, don't you think?
Yeah, okay, pause. So a lot of the discourse. The discourse is that basically Ryan Reynolds is incredibly jealous and controlling.
Yeah.
Listen,
We all knew this.
It doesn't shock me. He married her when she was like, what, 23, 24?
Really? Was she that young?
She was in her early 20s. And she, I think, latched onto him because it was Ryan Reynolds. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Not only is he good looking and charming and everything, but he's
also Deadpool.
It's not just like he has like a big box. Did he have Deadpool at the time? He didn't.
Yeah, he was. Wasn't he Deadpool in X-Men, the first one? Like, or not the first one, like one of the old X-Men.
We need a fact checker in here.
Whatever.
You and I. But everyone's like, he has some control issues. Go look at Alanis Morissette's accounts.
Yeah.
Listen to what Scarlett said.
Exactly.
I honestly believe it. I think he's a bit of a control freak.
So actually, Shahad Khalija, friend of the pod, I was watching her TikTok last night, and she recovered some blind items, I think dating back to like 2014 or something.
Vintage.
Of like basically, allegedly, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively and how controlling he was. And also, like, a lot of people have been talking about Alanis Morissette and Scarlett Johansson's relationship with Ryan Reynolds. So now I think he's being like really dragged into this. And I think, yeah, like Blake Lively is a victim, but she's not Justin Baldoni's victim.
No.
She's Ryan Reynolds'
I think
victim.
so too.
And I think that's why she took it out. I mean, we've also all seen the blind items of like, basically saying that one person was in love with the other, and that's why this whole thing is going down. And we all believe that Blake had the hots for
Okay,
Justin.
listen, if you see the dancing video, the comments are all like, if he was doing this to me after it ends, I'd be like, well, what are we?
Literally,
Us too.
Someone said, my favorite comment was, I could never be an actor because after the scene, I would ask, what are we? But that's the thing. I feel like acting is it's complicated. Do you know what I mean?
It's complicated, but like the fact that he's sitting there reminding her of his wife, of her husband, like, I don't know. To me, I think she was like a little flustered, I think she was like a little flustered. I think she was a little bit like giggly.
I would be, honestly.
Yeah,
I
who
would be.
wouldn't be?
But
He's
look,
a good
here's the
looking
thing.
man.
Like, okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I told you when I watched it, I'm still on Justin's side, but that video, I was like a bit uncomfortable because I know that he was the director in this, and that's what she's arguing. She was like, as a director, he obviously had like more power over her. No, whatever. She's playing that card, which we all like. Do we believe that Blake Lively was powerless?
Especially when her husband hijacked the press tour.
The script, the press tour.
Why
like,
was he promoting it? Like, I'm so sorry.
And they were promoting her hair care line, which is now apparently bankrupt.
No way.
Yeah.
Already?
I think so. But yeah, that was their biggest downfall, which is they were trying to promote a movie about DV.
Wear Your Florals.
Wear Your Florals, like it's a chick flick. But besides that, I think in that situation, like a lot of people were saying like, oh, he was improving and that's what
Mm.
she had an issue with because she couldn't say no. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he was probably improving as her director, but you're telling me Blake Lively was so scared that she couldn't be like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this scene. I don't want to do it. At some points, she was the one that was guiding him. Also, can we talk about that video where I don't know what scene, it was a different scene
Mhm.
where we
Mhm.
see her pulling
Telling
him
him.
in
Yeah,
and
yeah.
telling him how to pull
Hold
her
her.
in,
Yeah.
like she's directing him.
Babe,
So
honestly, I agree with every single thing you said. I think Homegirl got a little bit attached. I think she was not respectfully. I don't believe that she was that powerless, especially for husbands on set, especially if she's demanding to see scripts. She's demanding to see everything. Like, we saw the texts
yeah,
and she's not supposed to. I think the fact that she didn't want to meet with the intimacy coordinator, I think all of
that's
these,
the thing. Everybody
like,
was like, they're like, oh, these scenes are choreographed. No, 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 whatever. But they're like, yeah, she refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator. So
and the doctor texts that she, like, so I think she presented a bunch of texts that would incriminate him, and then Justin just pulled up the whole text chat. I'm so sorry. Like, it's not giving she was that big of a victim in
yeah.
this.
I mean, I think
Allegedly.
that Ryan Reynolds allegedly,
Mm,
I think he was threatened by Justin
same.
Baldoni
Same.
because, um, we like to make, well, I mean, he actually did make fun of him allegedly, or Justin believes that Ryan made fun of him in Deadpool. Nice
Yeah,
Pool
I
is
agree.
based on Justin. So I think that is threatening to someone like Ryan Reynolds. And I'm sure Blake was swooning.
Babe,
And
I
that's
think
why Ryan was like pushing her. Like, I think she's doing this out of fear to appease
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah, I think Ryan sensed something. He saw those late night texts. Listen, I agree that being an actor, like, it's not for everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
lines get blurred. You can be attracted to someone just because you're married doesn't mean all of a sudden you don't have senses. Attraction is still there.
Yeah.
Okay, you can have chemistry with someone. You're not inhumane. You're not a
I mean, you
wax
have to have
figure.
chemistry to
Act with them in the
act with
scene.
that person in that scene.
We always say, "Oh, they have great chemistry." Oh, they don't. And
Yeah.
when they don't, it doesn't work. This is a romantic scene. Like, she's holding him, he's holding her. Like, yes, regardless of the fact that the movie is addressing domestic violence, DV.
Yeah.
There are romantic scenes in this.
Yeah.
I think Ryan sent something. I think Ryan got a girl in her early 20s who was beautiful, who was swooning over him. I'm not saying his actions or her actions weren't rude and unfair and disrespectful to Scarlett Johansson because he was married to her when he met Blake and they had a little
Yeah.
flirtation thing going on. I think ultimately Ryan now is seeing Blake maybe act the same way around Justin that she did around him in the Green Lantern. Let's not forget they also met on
Yeah.
set. I think that's maybe causing him to be like, wait, what's this? What's that? And maybe, just maybe, Blake freaked out and said, oh, I was uncomfortable. I was in this. They filed the lawsuit and had no intention on actually like going through with it. People called the bluff and now she's forced to go through with it. I think this got blown out of proportion.
For sure. I think the blind items say it all. If you
Mm,
want to check out the blind items, I would recommend you watch Shahad's TikToks.
yeah, Khadijat.
They're very telling, very
Hmm.
telling. But one thing that I'm bummed about is like honestly, I used to think that they had a nice relationship.
Same. I love
Like
the
I used to love
jokes.
their banter and their jokes, and
Mm.
now that's just like
Babe, it ends with divorce. It ends with divorce.
I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll stick it together. But here's the thing.
Like,
Do you think do you think they're gonna settle? Or do you think they're gonna power trip and go full force with this?
I think if they don't settle, they're going to lose their careers.
Yeah. Please, if you don't settle and this actually makes it to court, please televise it.
Please,
We need to see
please.
we need to see this all happen in front of our eyes.
I want the TikTok investigators, the TikTok lawyers, the TikTok
Yeah.
community, who cares,
No, this is
to break it
insane.
down.
This has been a wild ride. Like the way people are like switching sides and just like no, and Justin, honestly, like one thing like before we move on, I want to
Mm.
say like I think Ryan, and I'm not going to say Blake, I think Ryan, because I feel like he's the mastermind
Yeah, I
behind all
agree.
of this.
I agree.
Allegedly.
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 Please
This is all
don't,
alleged.
don't
Please,
kill
nothing's
us, Ryan
confirmed.
Reynolds.
Yeah. But I think Ryan misinterpreted Justin's kindness for weakness.
Oh, yes.
And that's
Yes.
why I think Justin pulled the rug from underneath him when he was like, I'm giving you everything. I am just airing out
He's
everything.
standing on both their necks, and I'm here for it. Go off, King.
We're all here for it.
Mhm.
Anyways,
Can I have a chip now?
speaking of chips, I've been eyeing
Okay,
the
good.
spicy pizza. I haven't had the spicy pizza in so long.
Okay,
It's my favorite.
I haven't
Well,
had the sour cream and onion in so long, and I'm ready.
okay, onion breath.
So you're not kissing me. You'll live.
It's good. All right, let me have some spicy pizza before we get into this topic. Today's topic is going to be fun. I'm excited.
Can I still have the Can we mix them?
No, these are mine. You can have your sour cream and onion. All right, are we ready to get into today's topic? You
Ready
have
to
your
be.
snacks?
I have my snacks.
Okay. Today's topic is going to be about self-love, the term that's been misused, oversaturated, like it's just been shoved down our throats.
Our For You
Self-love.
pages.
And what is self-love anyways? Does anybody know? Do you know?
Narcissism rebranded.
Tariq said what he said. What about you, Mia? What is self-love to you?
I think self-love is the opposite of self-hate, which is what I practice every single day. Every day I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm still here. I hate myself. Okay, let me just put a more positive spin on this. Self-love is like, caring for yourself, not hating yourself, being good to yourself, being kind to yourself.
Mia's going through a lot lately. You know what self-love is to me?
What?
Watching the Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa video over and over and over and over again. That's self-love.
It has like millions of views and it's just Zainab.
1 million of them are me.
More, don't lie. Hello, Zainab, what are you doing? I'm watching the Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa.
You think I'm picking up when you call me and I'm watching that video? Do you think I'm picking up? I'm
She
silencing the
declines.
call. I'm letting the video just finish and then I'm watching it.
He's got great eyes.
He's got really great eyes. No, he really does
looks like
look
him.
like a lion. Like there's something just so like regal about him.
He's very
like,
cultured.
He is cultured, yes, actually. Tariq has jokes, apparently, and a mic, which is going to be very dangerous.
please, he does not represent our views. We do not want to be held liable for anything Tariq says. Shaku.
All right. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with
Let me tell me what self-love is to you, Queen.
Okay. You're not convinced of that answer?
No, you give me more than that.
Honestly, I think it's the way you talk to yourself, like being kind to yourself. I think taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, finding like the balance, holding yourself accountable as well, I think is a form of self-love. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
good.
else?
That's good.
I think that's all encompassing. Also, like, I think healing as well, and setting boundaries also is boundaries is my favorite word, but it is a form of self-love. I believe.
No, I agree. I think self-love on the internet tends to sort of hold this materialistic approach to it, like it's like self-love and it's all very superficial. It's not to do with the inner work.
Kind of
It's
shallow.
Yeah, it's very much like I said, like it's the silk robe, but it's a turban, it's putting a face mask on and drinking a matcha
Yeah.
and buying yourself a sweet treat. All these things, yes, sure, are part of self-love, but that's not really what the essence of self-love is, I would argue.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like I do believe there is an oversaturation of self-love online, like the memes, the merch. Like I feel like the term self-love is the new live, laugh, love.
Actually, yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Or like the image that we think of when we think self-love is literally a girl with a face mask, cucumbers on her eyes, and a turban, like
Yeah.
and a robe. And it's like, is that it? That's all we have to offer in terms of self-love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think we've fallen off, and especially because we listen to all these TikTok like quote unquote experts.
Yeah.
We think like them saying I'm the main character and I'm gonna have a me day is like self-love.
Like indulgent behavior, or like cutting off friends, like that's self-love. But it's way more complex than that. Like we're gonna get into it, but I think there is a lot of like artificial messaging for sure that's going around on the internet, and it's become so performative, like a lot of things on the internet. Like, last week's episode we talked about how there's like performative like takes when it comes to love. I believe that's the case with a lot of things online these days. Don't you think?
No, I agree. I think because ultimately, I think pressing the record button on the camera means you're going to perform. Like, of course, it's not going to be organic. It's like what you really think these people that wake up with me, like the camera was just there and they actually woke up, guys. They went and they set it up. Like, what do
I
you
literally
mean?
think about that all the time. And I'm like, sometimes they get it from different angles.
I know.
And I'm like, do they have two phones? Are they moving the tripod? Are they doing different takes? Like, how are you guys doing this? Kudos to you, honestly.
Yeah.
We enjoy that content, but I'm like, that could never be me.
No, being a content creator is a job ultimately,
Yeah.
and it's a job that people put in the effort to do, but it's content. It's content creation. Like that's not actually self-love. Like the performance of it all. Like it's just someone's getting paid for that video. Like khalas. So I think for starters, what we're seeing on the internet with these videos, with the rise of like the whole like self-love, self-care, main character, all of this, like I think we're being sold products first and
Yeah.
foremost. A lot of these are ads, and if you check the bios, if you check the captions, it says ad, and it'll be an ad for a mask or a gua sha or a face roller. Buying a face roller is not self-love, by the way. That's just you're just buying a care tool.
It's definitely like feeding into consumerism. And that's essentially, I think, what they're trying to do with social media, with anything. You know what I mean? That's why I feel like we can never have anything good on the internet these days. Don't you feel?
I believe it. I mean, when TikTok came back, a lot of people said, hey, this TikTok feels a bit different.
Right.
My spy is no longer Chinese. He's white now.
Yeah. Your spy is probably American now. That's what they wanted this whole time.
They want to be
Mark Zuckerberg's behind this, I feel like. Allegedly.
Someone said if you look on the settings, you'll find it connected to Meta. So allegedly or not.
Oh my God. Please don't tell me TikTok got bought out by Meta.
We'll find out. And it doesn't say on Choose TikTok, it doesn't say CEO of TikTok. It just says TikTok.
This is not good. It's not good, you guys.
I don't think Meta bought it. And then if they do, it's going to be a monopoly. I think someone else is going to buy it.
No, but I think that's what they want anyways. They want to monopolize social media, don't you think?
Under the government, yes, but not under people. When they broke up Microsoft.
Okay, but isn't Mark Zuckerberg like closely tied to
the government?
The government?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He got invited to the inauguration. Are you kidding me?
So now he has Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. What else does he have? What else is
Meta owned?
That's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. That's it.
YouTube? No.
No, YouTube is Google.
Is Google, yeah. Well, that's just pretty much our entire lives.
That's social media. They own social media.
Yeah, and if he gets TikTok, then we're screwed. But yeah, it's
Snapchat is still Evan Spiegel.
It's what?
Evan Spiegel, right?
Is it?
I think he didn't sell it.
No, they didn't sell it. No.
Yeah.
That's Miranda Kerr's husband.
Who?
Evan Spiegel.
Miranda Kerr?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't she a yacht girl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Allegedly. No, but that's the thing. That's why there's the algorithm. Like your algorithm serves the purpose to tell Meta or whoever is behind this
what to sell you.
What to sell you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people don't understand. Like every single thing you Google, every single thing you say, every single thing you TikTok search, every single thing you Instagram search, everything is connected. Like ads will come out. Like if you look at an item, doesn't it happen? You look at an item and all of a sudden you start seeing the item everywhere.
I think of an item. I don't even voice it. Before I even vocalize it, and an ad pops up and I'm like, what, how?
I had that happen the other day. I was talking about going on holiday somewhere in particular. I kid you not, maybe 2 minutes later, like really not even 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
I got an ad for it and I was like, this is unbelievable. Like you can't say or do anything without it being sold to you. So of course, self-care, when everyone is at an all-time high, I think it's Gen Z's is the most depressed generation. Millennials are burnt out to the core because everyone's doing 16 things because we always feel like this FOMO of I have to do more. Of course, they're going to try and sell self-care as the solution and they're going to try to monetize off of your depression and you not feeling well with yourself.
I mean, it's definitely like they're selling you false promises. You know what I mean? Like it's a quick fix and it neglects the emotional, the mental part of it where it's like, oh, buy this gua sha or get the matcha. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so interesting to me that
sweet treat.
that sweet treat, like indulge, spend your money, give us your money. That's literally what it is. We've all fallen for it. Like we love nothing more than,
A sweet
a
treat.
self-care day. But obviously you and I know that self-care is a lot more than
Deeper.
that. It's deeper than that. And I know a lot of people know that, but it's also very dangerous with the younger generation because like we said in last week's episode, like the more you see this content, the more that you're consuming this, it starts becoming your ideologies, your sense of self. Like it's subliminal. It's very subliminal.
Yeah, because I mean, look, I'm not gonna tell you it didn't work. Like, yeah, when I think of self-love, the first word that comes to mind for me is self-care. And that, like you said, is the image of the girl with the face mask and the cucumber in her eye. Like, yes, that is
Yeah.
exactly what has happened.
Yeah.
That's the content that I've consumed or been fed. And of course, that's now how I think of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just you. Like, we obviously have seen people in our personal lives who are like, oh, self-love day. And they just like isolate themselves and do a face mask and whatever. You know what I mean? And I do believe that these days self-love is being misused for selfish behavior,
For narcissistic behavior, I'd even
narcissistic
argue.
behavior as well. Yeah.
I think an example that is quite jarring for us is when we see certain people claiming that what they're doing is for self-love, but the reality is that they just want to be on their own. They just want to
Yeah.
isolate. And it's not for reasons of mental health. It's for reasons of like, they genuinely think that this is what self-love is. But I would
Yeah.
argue that self-love is also surrounding myself with people that love me and that care for me.
Yeah.
I think self-love is going outside and
Touching grass.
touching grass, but also seeing the sun. We're all vitamin
Yeah.
D deficient because we don't go outside.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people struggle with setting boundaries. And so they like this has been a huge problem where, people just cut people out of their lives. So it's instead of setting boundaries, they avoid. It's literally like boundaries versus avoidance.
Yeah.
And they're calling that self-love. Like instead of
Instead of
putting in the
addressing.
actual work, not just addressing. Like setting boundaries is not easy. Come on, like it's very uncomfortable. And a lot of times, like for example, like when I first started learning about boundaries and setting them, I think I used to do it in a very aggressive way. And it was very uncomfortable because it was new to me. And then I learned how to do it in a non-aggressive or passive-aggressive way.
Subtle.
In a subtle way. You know what I mean? So it's something that you learn and it takes a while. A lot of people don't know how to do that. So they think by avoiding the situation or running away from the situation, that's, self-love.
The blanket statement of self-love over everything, then that's how we got to the point where people don't know what anything is anymore. You know what I mean? You have one blanket statement to just address a plethora of issues. Of course, it loses meaning. Again, boundaries isn't not self-love, but setting boundaries is, again, just setting boundaries. Can it qualify as self-love? Sure. But it's just, I don't like sort of the blurring of the lines of both,
Yeah.
Like, for example, like you said, like we know people that have a hard time setting boundaries
Oh, yeah.
and that people please to the point where,
It backfires.
yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're angry and they're like, no, I have to focus on me. I've done everything for everyone. No one has asked you to do everything for everyone. It has backfired on you because you weren't able to set those boundaries.
I do also think that like sometimes self-love gets warped in with entitlement as well. Don't you think?
Yeah, because it's all about self. So it's
Yeah.
me. Self-love, loving myself.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of times like people think that like self-love means prioritizing their own feelings and devaluing other people's emotions. And like it's again super performative, very self-prioritizing, which yeah, like I'm not saying self-love isn't a great thing. It's a beautiful thing and you have to like have self-love, but I think a lot of times like people confuse it with like just receiving and not reciprocating. You know what I mean? And that's the problem that we're seeing these days. Don't you agree? Like in that example, like where I told you, like for example, like we've seen people who are like, I'm choosing myself, so I'm gonna sort of like, spend some time alone and neglect what you're going through, or like if you're going through something tough, even though that person has been there for you, but you're like, Mali khalq, like I'm just not feeling it right now. So I'm gonna protect my peace or take care of myself. So I'm just gonna neglect what you're going through and your feelings. And you got this. You can deal with it on your own.
Yeah.
We've seen situations like
Yeah.
that, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the idea there is like, I don't want to deal with it because it's the discomfort aspect,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They don't want to deal with someone that needs them, and they're going to prioritize their needs before the person's needs. And look, I'm not saying don't prioritize your needs. Of course, like, take care of your mental health, take care of your
Yeah.
physical health. Like, that's the most important thing at the end of the day. However, if someone is there for you consistently and you consistently give them
I'm
nothing
just
because
focusing on
you're
myself.
always focusing on yourself, at
Yeah.
this point, it's not self-love, you're just selfish.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. Like it's like you can focus on yourself, but at the same time acknowledge what others have done for you.
Mhm.
And if you have the capacity, I'm not saying deplete yourself.
No.
I'm not saying, go above and beyond to the point where you're giving more of yourself to others than yourself. But let's try to find a balance. I don't think it's fair when, you're like, I'm going to choose myself and avoid accountability, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, relationships are reciprocal. And that's if my care of you and my love of you is not reciprocated,
yeah.
then what's the point? What are we doing here? I'm just going to give all of me for what? You know what I mean? So I think that's where the issue lies. And calling someone out for that is difficult because then they will say, but I'm just setting boundaries, but I'm doing this for this, I'm doing this for that.
Mm-mm-mm.
That's why it's like, I think there's so much accountability that doesn't get taken when someone throws around it's self-care, it's self-love,
Yeah, it's hard, honestly, in this day and age to like navigate these scenarios, don't you think?
yeah.
Like a lot of times, because I mean, it's not just in friendships, it's also with families as well. Like, especially in our culture, because you not only have obligations towards your direct family, like your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, you also have some sort of obligation towards obviously your grandparents, and then your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, and then there's extended as well, like second cousins, third cousins, whatever. So there is so much obligation.
Married people that have obligations to their
Yeah,
in-laws.
the in-laws. So how do you navigate that? Like, how do you find time to take care of yourself, but also like not cut ties? Because like in Islam, we have salat raham. I mean, the gist of it is you have some sort of obligation towards your blood relatives.
Mm.
So you have to constantly be connected with them. And if you sever that tie, then that's considered like sort of a bad thing. So what exactly is Salat Raham? Going to the family gathering every Friday? That to me, I'm sorry, like Anna, personally, I know some people don't mind it. Personally, that a lot of times I feel like it's a waste of time. Like, especially when I used to have a very busy schedule, like my Fridays were sacred to me. Like those were the days like where I want to rest, I want to recharge, I want to catch up on my shows. You know what I mean? Like I will go to a family gathering every once in a while. Am I gonna keep going and like, yeah, sometimes there are certain like celebrations that I want to be there for, but like you go there and it's the same thing every week. You're eating, you're probably gossiping. It's probably not conversations that are adding value to you. You know what I mean? And it's draining. So, do I want to do it every week? I personally don't. If you have the energy to do it every week, kudos, like good for you. But I think it depends on who you are as a person, your family dynamic, and all of these things. You know what I mean?
No, I agree because ultimately, like you said, what are you getting? I'm leaving this gathering. How do I feel? Do I feel drained? If I have to commit to draining myself every Friday, I absolutely need to check my priorities
Yeah.
because ultimately, look. I'm sure some families, their family gatherings aren't like that, but
They're lit.
they're having
but don't
they're
get me
having a
wrong.
great conversation.
Yeah.
They're doing stuff maybe that's like more activity based, maybe it's more active. We can't speak for all, but I do see in Kuwait with my friends sort of the family gathering eye roll of
Yeah.
Mali Khil, Guma de Shunu, because there is sort of that inability to speak. Because like we aren't expected to set boundaries with our families. Traditionally in the Middle East, you can't say no to your parents. Like that's not even an option.
Yeah.
And when you do say no, that it's like met with like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like at a certain age, And I'm not speaking for people who are like, I think below the age of 21 even, but at a certain age, you should be expected to be able to have a conversation,
Yeah.
to tell your family, like, for example, hey, if you're the unmarried one, we all know the unmarried one, like, oh, you're free, you have nothing to do, just do that. We all know. We're unmarried. We see how our
Yeah.
parents be acting sometimes. You don't just have the whole world at your feet because you're unmarried. You have responsibilities, you have things to do, you have work, you have a social life, you have friends, and maybe you're even dating. Like, you have to have time for yourself. I'm not saying ditch all the gatherings, but I'm saying be selective and learn to say no. And also learn not to say why you're saying no. No, I can't today. Whether it's to run an errand or to do something or to attend the gathering, just learn to say no. And not just to say no, but because you know it's not going to do you any good. That's
Yeah.
self-love there.
I do agree with you, but I feel like we're also seeing a rise of people being like, oh, I'm gonna stop going to my family gatherings because, I just don't feel good. I mean, I've done that. Don't get me wrong. Now I just limit my time with them. But like, there are people who are like, oh, I'm never gonna speak to them again. I'm never gonna see them. I'm not gonna like go to any of the celebrations or the, weddings or whatever. It's obviously a lot way more complex than that. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like you said, like it's all about like finding the balance, finding the right amount of time that you want to give them, that you want to spend by yourself, but not just completely cutting people off because
Why? If you can avoid cutting your family off, you should definitely avoid cutting your family off.
first of all,
Yeah.
we're not advocating for cutting your family off.
Yeah.
Let's just get that clear.
Like that's the last case resort.
Yeah. I mean, look, but there are instances where there are like boundaries or red lines that are crossed. And a lot of times, like I have stopped going to gatherings for a little while because there was a red line that was crossed and it was not addressed. You know what I mean? Because you know me, I'm very vocal about my boundaries. One thing I love to do is be vocal. One thing you will never be able to do is shut me up. I will never stay quiet. But yeah, there were moments where it was a very complicated situation. And I didn't feel like, it was addressed properly, and it made me uncomfortable to go to a certain family gathering. So I was like, Yani, with all due respect, I'm just not going. I will see my family, my extended family when I see them. See you when I see you. You know what I mean? But I do want to talk about like how it is kind of sometimes oversimplified because like, we did kind of touch on it, but there are complex scenarios and situations that are way more nuanced than, just being like, oh, if your family's toxic, then cut them off. You know what I mean?
Cutting off people is just not a solution.
Like at the first sight of discomfort, being like, I am never speaking to them
You're
again.
gonna cut them off.
I'm
Like,
gonna
what,
cut
you're
them
gonna
off.
cut off your mom? Like, what are you gonna do?
I mean,
Really?
look, there are situations like these are extreme though.
Yeah.
These are super extreme where people have cut ties with their parents. And I feel like these are very extreme and specific scenarios.
They're not what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about
Yeah.
the average girl or the average guy that's like, oh, my mom's offending me. Like, she's not understand. Like, can we just understand also, like, your parents are not always going to understand you.
If I cut off my mom every time that she spiraled and started lashing out on me, I'd probably be on another planet right now. Like
If I had a dollar.
No, like the amount of times that our moms have spiraled out of control, and obviously as the daughter, you're like the punching bag.
If you're the daughter of a mother, you know what we're saying. Okay?
And I'm not saying this is okay, but this is their generational trauma.
Yeah.
We talk about breaking the cycle and all of that, but at the same time, it's like, am I going to change my mother?
No.
Do I love my mother? Yes. Is she doing it out of love? Yes. Is it okay?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Take it out on somebody else, please.
No, but like for that specific situation, I mean, we could do another episode on that, but like one thing that I remember, like my mom used to say something to me that used to really bother me, and it would be related to my weight. And she would say it out of love. She would be like, you should get a gastric bypass. I'll pay for it. She's gonna hate it when I say this now. And she genuinely thought.
I love you. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for your surgery. Like,
And at first, I remember I used to get so mad at it. It would lead to an argument. Like, we would literally fight. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, this is a generational
this is a love
gap.
language.
This is a generational gap.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because the generations of our mothers think it's so normal to talk about not only our bodies, our friends' bodies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I remember in the beginning, I used to get upset and she'd be like, "Shtawana magelche." Like, I didn't say anything. Why is she mad? Oh, she's over dramatic. And then with time, like as I got older, like I'm not saying this is okay, you guys, but what am I gonna do? Cut my mom off as an Arab?
like-
am I gonna go live by myself because my mom told me I'll pay for your gastric bypass?
It's honestly, and when you think of it, it's like you see all your mom's friends, like they haven't seen you in a bit, like, oh, you gained some weight, and
Or
you're like,
they'd talk to her and be like,
whoa.
"Your daughter's gained so much weight." And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Cut my mom off and her friends? Like, it's bad that we're laughing, but you guys, like,
What else are you supposed to do?
What else am I supposed to do?
Laugh it off.
You know what I started
Honestly,
doing?
say, yeah, you gained some weight too, Khalti. Yeah,
That
auntie.
part.
Is that a double chin I see? Time to get lipo.
I see you've been
Indulging.
in them carbs, huh? Maybe
Someone
you shouldn't eat that.
Someone's getting a bit chubby, and you pinch your cheek.
Boop, boop, boop.
No, they come from a generation where the ideal body type is a mannequin.
Not just that, they've probably had someone shame them, so they think it's so normal for them to go around walking around shaming other people for their
Fat
bodies.
shame your parents back. Traumatize your parents back.
You know what I used to do? I used to, at first I would make jokes, like, you know, like I would be like, oh, there's just more of me to love. You know what I mean? And then I just started completely detaching from what she said, because if I give her a reaction, like I'm just engaging with her and she's just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, thinking that, you know, the more she says it, the more I'm going to get convinced. You know what I mean? And then I reached a point where she would say it, I just walk away. And she stopped.
I've just been disassociating for the past 15 years. I have no idea what's happening in my life.
Disassociate, babes. That's the solution. Just sit there in the family gathering,
Blackout.
disassociating, scrolling.
Just
on
complete
TikTok.
blackout. Like stand
Just
there and
blackout.
laugh and just
Be like,
black
well,
out.
I've done my obligation.
See you next Friday.
See you next Friday. But no, for real, like I feel like a lot of times, like we have these terms or like these phrases that we say, and they really do like oversimplify a certain situation, and they're supposed to be like empowering. But I feel like what they fail to do is like address the dynamic or the complexity of these different
They're
situations.
just not nuanced. It's literally an internet
Yeah.
motto. You know, it's like a hot buzzword. Khalas.
Yeah.
Like
What's
for-
your favorite one?
My favorite one is
Or least favorite one? What's the one that irks you the most?
oof, there's a lot that crossed my mind. I think one that I find incredibly just jarring is cut off toxic people. Cut off everyone I
Yeah.
know. Well, everyone, you know, we've all been toxic. We have all
She's
been
gonna
toxic.
cut me off first. No, I'm not that toxic. I'm not toxic.
No, but we all have our toxic moments. It's like, you know how everyone loves to villainize Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City?
Yeah.
She's the most toxic one, guys. Please, she's the one that gets more screen time. If we looked at all of them the same way we look at Carrie, we'd all think they're toxic. They're all toxic in their own way. Everyone can be toxic. You're not gonna cut off the whole world. Just take this advice with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Distance yourself a little bit if someone's showing signs. But how about we actually address it with them also?
Yeah.
Instead of cutting someone out, how about you're like, hey, when you said that, it hurt me, or what did you mean? Like, how about we ask questions, we follow up,
Yeah.
we try to find out. Also, context.
100% context. And I feel like a lot of times, like what you deem as toxic might just be a misunderstanding. Maybe you come from different environments where this is normalized in that person's home and it's not in yours. You know what I mean? Like the word toxic, I feel like is being thrown around so much these days. And even in Arabic, you know what I mean? Like we see a lot of people overusing the word toxic to the point where you're like, what is actually toxic behavior? So we're all toxic. Everything we do is toxic. You know what I mean? And it's very generalized. Like nowadays, like when you ask someone, oh, like, why'd you end it with that person? Oh, it's so toxic.
Oh my God, that is exactly why relationships end. That
Yeah.
is a trend. It's a trend. It's because he or she was displaying toxic behavior.
Yeah. And I think like it doesn't like it kind of takes value from the word, and it doesn't differentiate between like what is actually like abusive
Mhm, mhm,
behavior and what is just maybe behavior that you're not okay with, or
mhm,
maybe like, just a boundary that needed to be set. You know what I mean?
mhm, mhm, mhm. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like it's not just devalued the word, it's completely taken the meaning out of the word. Like when someone's like, it was toxic, I actually have no idea what it means anymore. Genuinely, like
Yeah.
were they cheating on you? Were they mentally or physically like just doing things they shouldn't be doing? Did they just, I don't know, not unfollow their ex on Instagram? Like what is toxic behavior?
Yeah.
I think we should have a whole other conversation with that. But I do think like these buzzwords that are just like if he's toxic, you gotta go. If anyone's toxic, you gotta go. It's just please, like, let's just be realistic for a minute
Yeah.
here.
And I feel like a lot of times, oh, I'm gonna say something might trigger some people, but like
Trigger warning.
trigger warning. But I feel like a lot of times these days, the people who are walking around throwing the word toxic are the toxic ones themselves.
Say louder.
I swear to God.
Throw the gang sign.
Pew, pew, pew. Another one.
Hmm.
Protect your peace at all costs.
First of all, I have never known peace a day in my life. So what am I protecting? She hasn't known peace either. What the hell is peace? Protect your
fake
peace.
I fake. Look,
Protect your peace.
you know what my peace is? My peace is sitting at home on my couch in my pajamas, watching my shows with a snack. Does
You
that
don't-
mean I'm gonna sit all day and do that all day long?
You don't live alone. Someone's walking in there. 20 minutes. You
You're
get
right.
you get
Especially
20
now
minutes
that
of alone
my
time.
nephew and
Yeah.
niece are back. Yeah.
You have a maximum of 20 minutes of peace, girl.
Sammy's probably walking in and being like, "Can you play with me? Can you play with me?
Can I
What are you
watch you?"
doing? Why are you here?" He asked me.
Who are you talking to? Where's Mia?
Yeah. Oh my God, he asks me about you all the time. He actually asked me about you yesterday. The other day I picked him up from school and he was like, "Are we gonna go pick up Mia?" Because one time I picked up my nephew Sammy, he's 4.
Mhm.
We picked him up from school and then I was like, "Oh, we're gonna go pick up Mia and we're gonna get juice and no, whatever." And now every time I pick him up, he's like, "Are we gonna go pick up Mia?"
Guys.
Mia's crying.
Guys, self-love is holding a child or a baby. No, honestly.
For 5 minutes.
Listen.
And then giving them back to their mother when they cry.
Listen, let me tell you something about kids. As a non-mother right now in this life, I love holding my friends' babies and I play with them. The second that baby does a sound that I don't like, that means they're gonna release either a gas or a number 2 or a vom or anything. I'm like, take your thing and go deal.
Yeah.
You have like 5 minutes of peace with the baby and then they start screaming,
that's it.
crying, like
Yeah.
throwing up. It's
So if
a lot.
we're gonna actually apply protect your peace at all costs,
Hold the
which
baby for 5 minutes.
basically means like you walk away from anything that disrupts your peace. Like, what if you have a child? You're like, "You're disrupting my peace. You know what? I'm just walking away." That's what I'm gonna do from now on. When I'm babysitting my nephew, I'm gonna be like, "You're disrupting my peace."
You
Then walk off.
these like women that used to, like a few years ago, there was this trend on the news, like these women that would forget their babies at the supermarket in the cart or whatever.
What?
No, this was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Like they'd forget them in the car. I always related so much to them. And I don't know, I've never forgotten a human somewhere. But
Yeah, I think this is stuff that you should not be admitting to.
No, but
she's like, "I don't have a child, but if I did,
I don't have a
you better
child.
bet your bottom dollar that I'll forget him."
but if I did, I feel like because I get like sensory overload, I just get so overloaded sometimes.
Come on, Mia, you're not gonna forget a baby, a human,
I've
a full
forgotten.
human.
I've forgotten my handbag in the taxi. I've forgotten my luggage in the plane. I've forgotten
Your luggage in the plane. What do you mean? Like at the airport?
carry-on. No,
oh,
the
carry-on.
Completely left. And I got outside and I was like, no, I had a carry-on. Mayday. No, I have literally, there's this one time, like last year, 2024, you know, on the security check, I was holding so many things for some reason. Like I was holding my handbag in a duffel and like my thingy, forgot my handbag. I had to go back running. I was like, my passport is in there. Like, yeah, here's your bag, ma'am.
Yeah.
We've never seen that before.
Allah loves you.
I know.
You know, I've seen this. I've seen you this weekend when we went to the Keshta. Literally place your phone right in front of you next to the Kaisar because she wanted a snack. And then every 5 minutes, "Where's my phone?" And I'm like, "Check next to the Kaisar box." It
I'm
was
telling
literally
you.
there every time. Every time she'd be like, "Where's my phone?" It's on top of the Kaisar box.
I'm telling you, oh my God. And at some point, by the way, I stuck my phone on one of the cars and I couldn't find my phone for like 10 minutes. It was disastrous.
For those of you who don't live in Kuwait, Kaysar is the best place that has like the mini pizza,
Mini
fatayr.
pizza, sausage rolls, like, oh my God, they have so much good, like,
Yeah.
mm,
And if you don't live in Kuwait, you're missing out. It's like a childhood staple. Like we grew up
on
just
Kaysar.
eating like these mini Kaysar pizzas. They're so good.
Also, Kaysar is Caesars, just in
Caesars,
case
yeah.
you guys didn't
I
know.
can't say Caesars. It's Kaysar.
It's Kaysar.
Yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I'll
that's
forget
where
my baby.
that's where she kept her phone
Yeah.
every 5 minutes. Where's my phone? And I'm like,
It
it's
was
here.
strategic. It was strategic. I was like, oh, where's my phone? Get some mini pizza.
Yeah, but so basically when it comes to like protecting your peace, I feel like a lot of people don't understand that it doesn't always mean like harmony. You know what I mean? Like for example,
Life isn't peaceful.
life isn't peaceful, you guys. If we've learned anything in the past year alone,
Life is not peaceful.
there's no peace.
The only peace we ever had was coronavirus. And that killed off a lot of people.
Oh, let's not talk about that. But what I feel like ultimately leads to peace is like resilience through like difficult and hard situations. Like for example, if I need to confront a friend, it's very difficult, but ultimately that will lead to peace because then I'm, communicating what is bothering me with that friend and then we can address it. And then, that's like, first of all, it grows our bond and connection. And then to me, I think that's peace.
I agree.
You agree?
I do agree.
Okay, good.
But what do I know? I'm a girl who claimed that she would leave her kid in a supermarket. So
Yeah. But I also, don't you think like a lot of times what it does is that it like makes you think that like healing is linear as well.
yeah, no, but I think that's a trope in general that we see on the internet where it's like my healing journey and it's people being like, day 1, I was so down. Day 3, it was a bit hard. Day 10, I was amazing. You know what I mean? Like they make healing sound like it's like this process where I don't really think healing is a thing. Like hot take. I think our whole life we will be subjected to things and to moments that we just have to
Yeah.
overcome and heal that. And then you know what? Something else is gonna hit you.
Yeah.
And you're not probably even gonna be healed and it's gonna keep you an avalanche and you're just gonna keep going. Because what else are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Stop in the middle?
Nope.
No,
You're just,
so
go.
healing's overrated.
But I do definitely agree with that. Like I used to think healing was linear. I'm not gonna lie. Like 4 years into therapy or like 3 years into therapy, I was like, I am healed. Nothing can stop me now or harm me or you know what I mean? I just felt like I figured it out. And then COVID happened. And then obviously with that came new traumas, like different traumas. And when I went through, I kind of went through depression, like really bad depression because of the things that happened. I remember like on top of all the things that I was feeling, there was an added layer of like, how am I going through this? Why am I depressed? I've been through therapy. I should be healed. This shouldn't be happening to me. You know what I mean? So that's why I think these are very dangerous when they're misused because like you said, sometimes like we go back, sometimes we like have breakthrough moments.
Yeah, and then the outrage of like, I should be, no, you shouldn't be anything. Like your life is your life. Like your life
Yeah.
is up and down and sideways. And that's the beauty of life,
Yeah.
that it's messy. And so is every journey you go on, whether
Yeah.
it's healing or unhealing yourself, you know?
Yeah. No, I think honestly one thing that I think that I did for myself that I would count as like self-love would be therapy, obviously. And through therapy, I learned how to equip myself with the tools that I needed for when I'm in, a traumatizing situation or when I'm in like certain situations. First of all, how to um acknowledge or pinpoint what I'm going through and figure out what it is that I need to do. Like so many times, like, and my therapist would always tell me, she'd be like, sometimes we'd have to like deconstruct completely to reconstruct something better. You know what I mean? And I do believe that that's what self-love looks like having self-worth, knowing what you want in life, knowing that there are ups and downs. You know what I mean? It's like, there's so much to self-love. And it's also like being empathetic and just building like meaningful relationships.
Ultimately, I think because of the messiness of life, you do find yourself in scenarios where as healed or as much as you understand yourself or as whatever it is that you want to, whatever umbrella you want to put it in, you'll find yourself sometimes even unable to push through in the way that you thought that you would. But you know what? Like, these are the moments that make you stronger. I know
Yeah.
that we relate to this a lot.
Yeah.
The hardest falls we've taken in our lives have led us to who we are today, which I would
Yeah.
argue is we're very strong girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the moments where I was like, oh my God, I can't. Saying that I can't and crying and breaking down has led me to standing up, because I always end up telling myself, okay, I'm going to stand with myself. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to beat myself. Like, I think that's the biggest sign of self-love.
Yeah.
I'm going to be good to myself,
That's what it is. Yeah.
and I'm going to let myself heal in whatever timeline, and I'm not going to put expectations, and I'm going to come through. And the second you stop putting that pressure on yourself and stop thinking like, I deserve better, I'm being wrong, like all of these very like just out of control narratives that we can sometimes do ourselves, that's when you find a part of yourself that you never knew, and a part of yourself that you appreciate, because you're
Yeah.
like, this is beautiful, you know?
Yeah. I also want to build on what you were saying earlier. Like, sometimes we go through things and then our self-talk is so negative. And I think a lot of times, like, even with my friends, I'd be like, and my friends do it to me, where they're like, you're being hard on yourself. And then catching that and turning it around, I think, is also a form of self-love. Like, when you go through something, like, you know, maybe like you realize, obviously, like when you're doing the self-talk, a lot of times you don't realize that it's negative, but you'd be like, for example, oh, you're so stupid, you're so dumb, how could I do this, how could I have been, you know, so naive, or you know what I mean, or I shouldn't be
But-
going through this, or I shouldn't have made this mistake, or beating yourself up for this things that you did. And self-love is being kind to yourself in these moments, forgiving yourself, first of all, for making a mistake, and then being like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to learn from this, or am I just going to keep repeating this and beating myself up? And I think that's essentially what self-love is that you pick yourself up, you forgive yourself, and then you improve and you do better.
No, that's exactly how I feel about it. Like, I think it's the same. It's not even just sometimes you're mean to yourself. Sometimes you want to try and find a scapegoat. No, sometimes you want to try and find someone to blame, and you end up blaming yourself, and you end up trying to relive situations in your head where you're trying to find out where you went wrong. I think self-love sometimes is not doing that and not trying to find a wrong or a right, or someone that was wrong or someone that was right, because we're all humans, and it's our first life. It's our first time doing this anyways, you know?
Yeah.
So we're all figuring it out as we go.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time that we see what you guys have to say about this topic. We asked you guys a few weeks ago, I think, or was it last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, probably, about this topic.
So for our first question of Let's Get Spicy, we asked you guys, be so for real. Do you help people to feel good about yourself? And a whopping 30% said, no, I'm out here doing charity like a saint. And the other 30% said, who cares? It's the outcome that matters. Followed by 25%, sometimes it's called multitasking emotions. And a very honest 14% said, obviously, but isn't that still a good deed? What do you think on that?
I think for me, I think I voted sometimes. It's called multitasking emotions. Because first of all, you shouldn't be helping someone just to feel good about yourself, because I think that's selfish, essentially. I feel like you have to help people without expectations, but at the same time, sometimes it does feel good to help someone, especially when your friend is not doing so well and you cheer them up, and then you're like, oh, you feel good because your friend is not feeling down. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the outcome is the same, right? Like, you've helped someone. And I feel the same way sometimes. Like, yeah, like, of course, ultimately, like, helping someone, whether it be like a stranger or your friend, like, you're helping someone, so it يرفع من روح المعنوية.
Yeah.
Like I think how do you say that in English?
Lifts you
Your sense of
up,
self?
your
Yeah, it boosts your self-esteem to do something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you feel useful.
feel useful. The next question we asked is it fair to call someone selfish for putting themselves first? 54% said depends. Are they burning bridges or boundaries? And then 35% said no, self-care is the bare minimum. And then 7% said fair, maybe. Necessary, absolutely. And then 5% said yes, let's not pretend selfish is always bad. What do you think?
I think this is so nuanced. So I'm definitely of the depends. Are they burning bridges or boundaries?
Yeah, 100%. That's why I think 54%
Agreed. Yeah.
agreed on that. Um, I want to talk to the 5% that voted. Let's not pretend selfish is always bad.
I know. I'm so curious. I'm like, what do you guys mean?
Yeah. Because I know the word selfish is a bad term or a negative. It
Yeah,
has
but
like negative connotations.
it's being glamorized in social
It's
media.
been a bit glamorized, but I like to say self-full instead of selfish.
Okay, self mermaid.
Self-made.
Would you lie to protect yourself even if it hurts someone else? 57% said maybe, but only if it's major. 25% said never. My moral compass doesn't bend. Okay, guys, I don't believe that. 12% said lie. I prefer calling strategic storytelling. And 6% said, of course, self-preservation is key. Okay, some people really are in their honest era.
Some people said that they will lie no matter the consequence.
But I agree.
They're like, self-preservation is key.
Like,
Wait, what did you vote? Did you vote, of course?
No, I agree with the maybe crowd. But
Yeah.
if it's like super, but actually it depends. What am I lying about? Like, hold up. Like, what am I lying about? Because even like if you're, I don't know if I can live with that.
I don't know. That I think it depends on the situation,
Yeah.
obviously. But like if we're looking at it in a general sense, like protecting yourself and hurting someone else, and like you're lying while doing that, like that's just
It's bad.
that's
But
bad.
the only scenario I can think of in this case is if I know something that I'm not supposed to, and someone finds out that someone hurt someone, or
Okay,
and I'm
okay.
not supposed to know, and like I'm not involved enough to be like, oh yeah, and I think sometimes it's really like, oh, I just pull yourself out.
Anyways, and then we asked you guys, what's something you did for yourself that others called selfish? And do you want to read your favorite?
Yes, not having a wedding party, and my husband came and picked me up from my parents' house. Queen, she said, party for who? I'm out. Go to my honeymoon.
Someone said it was kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier. Missing on social gatherings / hangouts just to stay consistent to my healthy lifestyle. I mean, that I'm not too mad at. Like if you're missing on some of them, not all of them, like sure. But like I'm sure you can manage your time better to kind of fit your healthy lifestyle. Unless it's like taking over all your time.
No, but you know, like how certain people, like all their hangs are very late night and they always involve unhealthy foods.
Yeah.
Like I'm not hanging out at 11 p.m. and that's when we're having dinner and it's like pizza. Like no.
Yeah.
Like, and I get that sentiment because a lot of people that I know here, like just in the Gulf region in general, their hangs go up until 2, 3. And it's like,
and we're ordering Kaisar.
Yeah, but it's like, no, that's not actually, I can't actually do that all that often anymore. But also, speaking of ordering pizza, someone said ordered a large pizza and ate it all by myself.
I wonder who that is.
That's not me.
Huh?
That's not me.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I thought that was you.
No.
Okay.
Love her.
Yeah, honestly, I relate to that. Yeah. Self-love.
Self-love.
We're going against what we said earlier. Don't indulge. But honestly, sometimes ordering a pizza is self-love.
And eating it by yourself.
Especially if you've been good. Like I do that. I know it's bad. Nick, my personal trainer has told me like you shouldn't reward yourself with food. One thing I will do, I will reward myself with pizza.
I'm feeling down today. One thing I will do is reward myself with a sweet treat. Look at us. Never listening to our preachings.
So this one is interesting. Didn't respond to texts and calls for a good while after a difficult event. Now, it depends on the event. Like we talked about this earlier today, where I was telling you, like, I know that certain events can be very difficult and someone like kind of needs space or, they got to work through emotions. So I understand why they would need to like not cut out communication, just not be responsive in their communication. So I feel like in this situation, it's important to have friends that understand that you're going through it and just know who you are as a person, whether you just need them to like check in and they're fine, even if you don't communicate. You know what I mean?
I mean, I am definitely a huge stan of doing that. I think everyone that knows me has seen me missing for a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll leave the country. Sometimes I won't answer calls for a long time, but it's never, I think what's important is it's never because of other people. It's because genuinely you just need a second and you don't feel like talking about it and you don't feel like being sad and you just you should be on your own.
I also think as long as you're not screwing someone over, you know what I mean? Like imagine if you
100%.
had work with someone and then you're not like
Yeah,
communicating.
I can't do that with you anymore, for example.
Someone said, apparently me being child-free makes me selfish now.
It's your body, your choice.
Body, yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think we need to really like stop that narrative where if you're married and you don't want to have a child, then you're selfish. I think that's the opposite, honestly.
Same. We're overpopulated, by the way.
Yeah.
And then our last favorite one is rejected a guy that wanted me to move to Wafra and live with his elderly folks. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to live in Wafra with just look, in theory, yes, being remote off the grid, it's peaceful. Then after a while, I'm like, it's just you and your parents.
It's getting a bit boring.
I'm like, yeah, it smells like old people. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to see like a younger crowd. Also,
smells
like,
musty in here.
It smells musty. And then you want to go anywhere. That's what, like a 40-50 minute drive minimum?
Minimum. That's
Minimum,
it's 2
right?
hours, to be honest.
Like from here, it's 20 minutes.
No, it's not. Is it 20 minutes?
No, it's definitely not 20
No,
minutes.
from here,
Tarek
around
is
20.
exposing where he lives. Tell us in the comments where you think Tarek lives.
Show up at his door.
All right, you guys. I think the gist of this episode is that if you are following 10 influencers and skipping therapy, then what are you doing?
It's not self-love. You're just on TikTok.
Self-love, honestly. Unfollow them.
Now,
Find you a good therapist and heal. And try to find a balance. But yeah, I think
obviously, like you have to be true to yourself and follow what feels good, but just don't forget to ask for help. Go to your friends, talk to them about it. Like, don't ever like feel like self-love means like I gotta be on my own. And you're not alone in this journey. We're all going through this journey always, you know?
we're all in this together. No, just to build on what you were saying as well. Like, I think it like it's not necessarily about like avoiding challenges or like just putting yourself on a pedestal. Like, it's about evolving and just doing what's best for you and the community around you. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's essentially what self-love is. And eating these puffs, honestly, I cannot wait to finish this bag. All right, you guys, do you have any parting words? Is there anything else you want to say about self-love?
I'm gonna go get myself a sweet treat now.
A matcha. just us going against everything that we say.
I'm gonna
like, don't indulge.
We're gonna go home and sit in the silk robes, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, these are called mood boosters.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are. When we're feeling down, this is the form of self-love that we need today. Yeah. All right, you guys, this is all the time we have for today's episode. If you enjoyed the episode,
Like, comment, subscribe, leave a review. Anything less than 5 stars, and I don't think you love yourself or us.
all right, you guys, we will see you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.